Can I just quote what the Pakistan Foreign Minister said? Sorry to interrupt.
Please do.
They said this, and this is the language that people would like India to speak vis-a-vis Pakistan. They said enough is enough. This is a response to America and NATO. The government of Pakistan will not tolerate any incident of spilling even a single drop of any civilian or soldier's blood. That is it.
And then
we will not compromise on our sovereignty.
Of course. And then
what?
And then the drone attacks continued.
So you're saying that
I'm not saying that
being tough with Pakistan will not be.
No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we have to be sensible in handling Pakistan, and sensible means keeping India's national interest as paramount. Now, what India's national interest is not always going to be explicitly available on the channels.
Right.
There are things that we have to do in confidence. There are things that we have to do within the confines of government. There are things that we have to do in engagement with our own armed forces, which we cannot disclose in advance for obvious security reasons. But we will, if and when the need comes and we complete an operation, we will let the world know. But when is an operation of a civilian nature? When is it of a diplomatic nature? When is it of a military nature? These are decisions that we have to take. Nobody is going to force us to take these decisions. No matter how much they claim to be advocating national interest, we are not prepared to accept that we know less of the national interest than anybody else.
You've said this a second time here.
I've said it 100 times.
I'd say
because
this to you also. Is it in the national interest, Mr. Salman Khurshid, to be giving an escape route to Pakistan like you did in this whole controversy over the press releases, when you made 3 statements from Jammu and one statement from Jammu and 2 from Delhi? Is it in the national interest, Mr. Salman Khurshid, to give an escape route to Pakistan? An opportunity for Pakistan to forever quote that we gave them the alibi. Because what happened last week, Mr. Khurshid, was
you gave.
I gave.
Look at what the resolution
Your government
says.
gave.
Sorry.
Your government
Look at what the resolution says. It talks about the media. It talks about the media. The opposition.
Whose
and
resolution?
The media. Resolution of Pakistan.
What do you expect them to say about the Indian media?
You're talking about them. They having been given an escape route. That escape route has come because you have suggested something that should not have been suggested at all.
Which is what?
If an attack comes on an Indian civilian or an Indian armed forces personnel, if an attack comes from across the LOC, it doesn't matter it comes in uniform or it comes in civilian clothes. It is an attack that we accept must not have happened without the connivance of the Pakistani government. Now, if you are explicitly not unable to understand what we are saying, you can't tell Pakistan that you've been let off by this government and run down your own government when you should be telling Pakistan that we stand by our government.
So if your government was right in saying that the people who came in from Pakistan were not Pakistan army personnel, without doubt. You didn't say that, but I'm saying without doubt, but they were individuals dressed in Pakistan army uniform. Let me ask you, Mr. Khurshid, would you ever expect any government in Pakistan ever, if Indians were to attack, on the Pakistani side and go 450 kilometers on Pakistani soil, do you expect the Pakistani 450 meters into Pakistani soil, do you expect any Pakistani government or defense minister to stand in their assembly and say there were people who were dressed in Indian army uniforms?
But at that point of time,
would you expect them to say that?
May I just say this to you?
Yes, please.
You first tell us to behave like Americans, then you tell us to behave like Pakistanis, then you tell us to behave like somebody else. We will behave like Indians.
We will want you to be firm.
And we were firm, and we are firm today.
Not in that episode.
We are firm today. We were firm in that episode as well. If any discrepancies happened of reporting from the field and between headquarters, that discrepancy is unfortunate. But there was not for a moment, an escape route given to Pakistan.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, everybody jumping to score points created that escape route.
Who's everybody? I want you to be very clear about it.
No, it's there. Everybody? It's the opposition and you, the media.
Yes.
All you had to do was to ask us. Yeah. Please trust the Indian Defence Minister. When the Indian Defence Minister speaks, a man of tremendous sagacity, tremendous honesty, tremendous respect in this country, when he speaks, give him a moment of trust.
Then in that case, Mr. Khurshid, there is not one question on the personal integrity, sagacity, competence or honesty of Mr. A.K. Antony. There's no comment on a personal level on him. At that point of time, when the leader of the opposition stood in the floor of the House and gave the leeway to Mr. Antony to suggest that it could have been a typographical error, in other words, suggesting that, this may not be in national interest. Why don't you just say it is a typographical error and correct it? Why did the Congress party and the government not say that, yes, it may not be the right way of phrasing it. Let us not phrase it in a manner that gives Pakistan the edge. And Mr. Khurshid, 1 minute. I must reply because you put the ball in the media's court here.
Yeah.
What happened with the press releases? In the aftermath of the ceasefire violation was without doubt a completely avoidable controversy. This is the way most people are reading it. We had 3 statements in 2 days. Clearly, we were a divided house in our stand on Pakistan's direct involvement. And Mr. Khurshid, you too contradicted yourself. You first claimed Antony's remarks were consistent, then said there was an error made in the first letter that was rectified, only for a third letter to confirm what the first letter had said. Amidst all the confusion, we lost the opportunity, 3 more words, of putting the pressure on Pakistan.
Please understand, I think we put the pressure on Pakistan. But if you want to honestly accept what happened, please accept it. But if you insist that there were contradictions, if you insist that there were inaccuracies, then there is nothing I can do. Very simple. Please understand, very simple. There was an FIR filed. That FIR did not say that there were army people involved. It thought, I believe, on the basis of prima facie evidence, that there were only terrorists involved. It moved forward. And a press release said there were people who were army regulars.
No, it said Pakistan Border Action Team.
Whatever, army regulars or Pakistan Action Team, etc. Further reflection, this is all done at the regional level. This is all done at the Jammu level. This is long before the defense minister comes into the picture. Then, on further reflection, they were not sure that what they had said was absolutely correct. So they said, certainly there were people in uniform. Others were dressed in civilian clothes. Yeah. But it's difficult at that stage to reconfirm. Mr. Antony made his statement at that stage. But Mr. Antony was still hoping more information would be available.
But why was he giving an alibi in the interim?
He was not giving an alibi. I believe that was not an alibi.
Why were all references to the Pakistan Army? And I've asked you this before, but I repeat it. All reference to Pakistan Army, Pakistan government, Pakistan Army regulars removed.
It was not necessary at that point.
Why was it?
He was still checking. And please understand, I was sitting next to him. Now, you don't want to believe it, don't believe it. I was sitting next to him. He made a special effort to go across to the gallery, check with the army again. And he came back and said, haven't been able to confirm even yet, but I have to complete my statement. He told all of us that he would ask the army chief to go and make a personal check on what had happened. The army chief went, he collected more information, came back and he briefed him. Next day, a more complete statement was made. Where is the contradiction? You're saying that there is no evolving situation.
There is a clear contradiction in this, but I don't want to go on about it.
I am sorry.
The contradiction is...
I'm saying the contradiction...
See, I'll tell you. I'll put it in a historical context now, Mr. Khurshid, for you. The contradiction is this, that do you believe that given its pathetic track record as being a state sponsor of terrorism, having killed Indians on Indian soil, and carried out repeated infiltrations, having violated the atmosphere and the basis of the ceasefire, that Pakistan deserves this leg room. So
I don't think we gave them any leg room.
Well, many people believe they have.
Well, people believe, but they're not.
Most people believe.
Sorry, but...
And if you didn't believe the people believe, why did you go back?
No, we didn't go back. We didn't go back. We don't stand on ego. We said this is the information we have today. If we have more information, we'll come back to you. And next day we had more information, we came back to them. We may have even more information now. We will go back a third time. Now, you can't say that when something happens, we want a 100% correct, authentic report, a verified report there and then within 15 minutes. You can't do that.
No, you don't have to respond like that, Mr. Khurshid. But on this whole issue of escape route, now I'll put it in the historical perspective, and my next question to you is this.
I've explained to you that there was no escape route here.
Actually, I've heard you there.
Whether you accept or you don't, that's your choice.
I've heard you there. I've heard you there. I cannot
context.
force my opinion on the Foreign Minister of India.
Absolutely, nor can I on you. Yes. But we are having a discussion discussion so that people are able to judge better as to who's saying the right thing.
Absolutely. Mr. Khurshid, the question here is this, that instead of being firm with Pakistan, the accusation against your government, many people believe, is that you have always given them an escape route. You see, Manmohan Singh, 2006 said, I'll give you some examples. India too is a victim of terror, right? Then you included Balochistan. Pakistan too, like India, is a victim of terror. Then you had this Balochistan reference 6 months after 9/11. But the most startling one was by your predecessor, Mr. S.M. Krishna, which I personally found quite shocking. You had G.K. Pillai, who said that the interrogation of Headley proved Pakistan's ISI was involved in 26/11 from beginning to end on the attack on Mumbai. And S.M. Krishna disapproved of these comments, said that his entire visit to Islamabad was underpinned by the remarks, the timing of which were very unfortunate. Now, why would any foreign minister do that? One, when your home secretary is telling the truth, why would the foreign minister embarrass his home secretary, contradict the government's own position on 26/11, dilute the pressure on 26/11, and why was the Prime Minister silent in that period? Why did the Prime Minister not step forward and defend the Home Secretary?
See,
why?
Now there are many issues here. This is not a free-for-all government.
What do you mean by free-for-all?
Yeah, I'm telling you what. It's not free-for-all government. What the
Home Secretary can't speak the truth?
Home Secretary is not supposed to speak when the ministers are supposed to speak. The purpose of a divide between political responsibility and a bureaucratic responsibility is this, that the final statement must come from the political head, and the political head must roll if they get it wrong. We are not supposed to blame the
political head got it wrong in this case.
No. It was not. It was the Home Minister who should have spoken. But be that as it may, the Home Secretary, whatever the Home Secretary said was correct. I will say it now that it was correct. We have seen subsequently proof of what he said, a proof that what he said was correct. But there must have been a decision taken at that time for the foreign minister to visit Pakistan. A decision taken. There are things that you say. There are things that you say one-on-one. There are things that you say in public. You know that in diplomacy.
But Mr. Khurshid, I understand. You always take the argument of diplomacy, and I understand that new diplomacy has nuances.
A foreign minister must take an argument of diplomacy.
But I must at the same time ask you this question. That I think it was unfortunate. I'm going to press on this point. I think it was unfortunate that Qureshi, the then foreign minister of Pakistan, said that look at what your Home Secretary has said, and he said that dialogue was reported in all Pakistan papers. What extent has it helped? And immediately your foreign minister said what your Home Secretary said, which is the truth about 26/11, was very unfortunate. It is also no, one second.
He didn't say it was wrong.
He is saying it is unfortunate, and he has also said it was his visit was underpinned by it,
but
which
that's another
proves
fact.
Which proves my basic contention.
Yeah,
that you want to do a certain kind of diplomacy with Pakistan by playing down the facts.
No.
Whereas the Pakistanis, the same Mr. Qureshi said the following. He said, I have brought India to its knees. This is what Qureshi said, and I'd like to quote Qureshi. He said,
and nobody contradicted that?
Well, nobody contradicted that.
Because
nobody contradicted that. He said that Pakistan's tough posturing had brought India down on its knees. Nobody contradicted that. But your foreign minister contradicted your home.
You think this is true?
Which is true?
You think this is true? What Mr. Qureshi said? You think this is true?
Well, this has been
quoted. Please learn to sift between what is something that is of good sense and of use in a conversation like the one that we are having, and what is really chaff that should be separated.
Mr. Khurshid, the simple point I'm making to you is this, that the Pakistanis have been extremely muscular and aggressive in their approach vis-a-vis India, whereas we have been extremely soft. And that is the real point of this conversation.
I think
why are we doing that?
Screaming doesn't make you tough. Being abusive and cursing somebody doesn't make you tough. I think you've got to delve a little bit deeper into how we function, and you will know how tough we've been. We have been tough. We don't want to proclaim to the world and proclaim to your viewers that we've been tough. We know what our job is. It is a tough job. and we will remain tough. And I think the fact that we do not proclaim it from the treetops and from the rooftops doesn't mean that we are not tough. I don't want to be compared to anybody from the Pakistani side. I would be terribly, terribly distressed if you gave me the impression that you prefer politicians on the Pakistani side to politicians in your own country. I would be extremely distressed, but then again, it is your choice.